Hello, everyone. Okay, last week we worked on finalizing what I call the logical view of your database. You basically determined what the entities are, and you determined all your attributes, the data types of the attributes, and you put a primary key on each entity. And I know right now the primary key could be a little confusing, but it won't be as we keep moving forward. You'll start recognizing the use of this primary key as we bond more, as we form more relationships between these entities. So with that said, just kind of take it for what it is and let's move forward. The next step in all of this now is to take this logical view, okay, this little model right here, this Visio, whatever you want to describe it as, and now make it physical. And what I mean by that is we actually create our database. So this first video is just kind of introduce you on how we're going to go about doing that. And to do so, what we're going to do is we're going to get into what's called Microsoft SQL Server. And so I'm going to go find that on my machine. I just typed in SQL here. You can type in Microsoft SQL Server. It doesn't really matter. Literally does not matter at the time I made this video, I should say, on what version you have or what year you actually have, because it hasn't really changed over the years. I could be doing the exact same thing. We're going to be teaching this course at a version from 2008 or whatever, okay? So I'm just going to stick with this one. And I'm going to double click, but you want to open the Microsoft SQL Server Management Studio, all right? That's what we're going to be working with, the Microsoft SQL Server Management Studio. So you need to make sure that is on your machines and ready to go, all right? If the Management Studio is not there, you may need to contact your instructor. It's pretty easy to get, okay? Somehow you installed SQL Server possibly incorrectly. And so you can actually do an uninstall and reinstall and make sure you follow the instructions we gave you to install, or you could go out and download Microsoft SQL Server. Just you might have to Google it based upon the version, and it's a free download on the internet. You'll be able to find it and download it and make sure you have it, okay? Hopefully you have it based upon your install. As you see, I just basically clicked on it and opened it up, and we came to this right here. All right, this right here is how to sign into your database. How SQL Server sort of works is it actually puts a server on your machine, okay? These servers can be on anybody's machine, but it's actually going to be on your machine. I'm going to change this a little bit here based upon the old one I have. And so it's sitting there. And so for this particular course, the server, meaning where the database is going to reside, is on your machine, and that's what we're going to be using. What's great about this, like I said, piece of software, we can actually connect to a server over the internet on a server somewhere else, placed in the cloud or whatever. All right, but right now we're going to be using our server from your machine. So you want to make sure that server is set up. And that's what I'm going to kind of talk about here a little bit as we walk through in this situation, okay? What you're going to be doing is going and finding the server on your machine. It should default right here. You can actually default to local server, but I'm going to tell you a better way of doing this just to make sure you got it. I would come to the server name and I would hit browse for more, okay? You'll see this pop up right here. Hit the plus sign. And as long as something is here, I don't care what it is, whatever the name of it is you probably gave it, could be local, actually the word local, click on it. That's your server. If by chance, okay, that there's nothing there, that means once again something happened with your install. I'm going to show you a way to that you may want to go check on this, okay, here in a second, that it's actually running. But if it's not there, you're going to have to reinstall SQL Server once again, uninstall and reinstall to ensure that you get your server on there. If you follow the directions we told you to do in the installation, it should be there, okay? But the good news is once you do this once for the first time, it will always be like this. You don't have to keep doing it every time you come in. All you got to do is press the connect button. So once again, drop down on the server name, click on browse for more, and hit that little plus sign right there, and you will find the actual server on your machine. If you don't quite understand what I mean by server, it's just a physical location where we're saving the database. All right, that's all I'm saying. Okay, hit OK. Okay, now if for some reason it's not there, what you can do is go to services. See how I typed in the word services right here? Go to the services app. All right, and you're going to scroll down, and what you're going to try to find is this thing called MS. As soon as I find it here, I'll find it. SQL Server, I know I'll find it. It's not the easiest thing to find. Here it is right here. See this right here? MS SQL Server. SQL Server, MS SQL Server. This right here. Can I highlight this? There you go. That's what I want to do. You want to make sure that's running. Okay, so two things. If that's not even there, you have an installation problem. If it's there but it's not running, meaning it physically doesn't have the word running on it, do a right click and say start. Mine's actually disabled because it's already started. Say start. There might be times that the actual database stops because there's maybe some contention with your computer. It doesn't happen very often, but sometimes I've seen people with brand new machines or whatever and installations, and it never starts on its own. You got to do this one time. Just hit the start, and as long as it says running, like it's this right here, you should be good to go. If it doesn't start, if this is not there, we have an installation problem, and then what you need to do is uninstall and reinstall, okay? And follow the directions. Somehow you missed a step in the installation. Make sense? All right. Hopefully, though, everybody got to this part right here, did exactly what I just told you to do. Click Browse for more, and you have a database engine sitting right there that you click on, and you're good to go. And like I said, once you're good to go, you're always going to be good to go. You don't have to worry about it ever again. It's just all that. It's usually that initial time that a few students have some issues. So hopefully that helps. What you're going to do from here is press connect. And this is what's going to pop up. Not overly intuitive, right? Let me tell you a little bit about something about SQL Server. SQL Server is a professional, a highly professional piece of software. It was never meant for education. Though we're using it as such, it was never meant for that. It was meant for database professionals. And so, though you're going to get used to it quite quickly, there is some little nuances about it that we'll talk about when we get into doing this a little bit later on in another video, dealing with some errors that you need to make sure you understand, okay? Because once again, it was never meant to do some of the things we're going to be doing with it. It's not hurting it or anything. It's just sometimes you get stuck and you might have to get it unstuck here and there. And again, it's not overly intuitive to make it really easy for the common user to use. It's used as a professional database system. This is a very robust database, a database system, okay, I should say, that is used in major corporations all around the world, okay? Between this and Oracle, they have just about 90% of the databases that are out there. Maybe a little less based upon NoSQL and so on, but quite a bit between these two, okay? All right, what do we have here? Well, what we have over here is we have our databases, okay? So you see how I hit that little plus sign again? This is our databases that's in here. I have quite a few databases already. What's kind of cool is you have a server, and then you can have multiple databases on there. You will do that also as we continue on with our program here. Okay, or a course. Excuse me. All we're going to do is basically, we'll get into the step-by-steps on adding a database and so on with you in future videos here this week. But for the most part, you just should be aware that the databases, security, server objects, replication, polybase, all these things down here, here's the good news. You don't have to worry about them for this course. All we're going to be doing is really working with databases, okay? So you don't have to worry about anything else beyond the word database. So in this case here, you will click here and everything you need to know is right here. I'm going to look at a database here. Here's DBMS College that I've actually been working with. And once you click on that, you'll see these things called tables, views, programmability, and so on. We'll play around with a few of these this year, this semester, primarily tables. This is where all the tables aka entities, will reside. Okay? This is literally called the GUI view over here. We're going to be doing things in a script. When we develop this course, we feel it's better that you actually write this out versus using the GUI. And this is a very, I want to say lame, but non-intuitive GUI to develop your databases. You could basically develop your databases and your whole database over here. But we don't want you to do that because we don't think you're going to learn it and understand it as well as you're going to if you have to write it out. Okay? Anyway, this is this whole piece. Everything, well, I'll kind of get into the next pieces when we get into writing your first scripts and so on. But everything you need to do up here, you'll be doing a new query. Once you get into the new queries, once we get into this, you'll execute the query. You'll see all this in future videos. Obviously, you'll save your queries. These will be a .sql form. That's what you're going to be handing into your instructors. And that's pretty much it, I believe. We may play around with this piece right here to make sure you're on the right database, but for the most part, execute, new query, and save are the three biggies that you need to know about. Okay? So that's your quick introduction to SQL Server. There's nothing hard to it. Once you start playing with it the way we're going to use it for this course, you'll get comfortable with it very, very quickly.